book that you just cannot put down. It's so good, and you like know you shouldn't really like it as much as you do, but you do. That's what these two books were for me. The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han and A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. These were two books that I unexpectedly enjoyed. The titles alone were something, made me think I'm never gonna read these books, and I'll get more into that in a bit, but I picked them up and upon recommendation, read them, thoroughly enjoyed them, was like sitting through, addicted to them, wanted to finish them. So they were great books to get me out of a little bit of a reading slump that I had, and it's possible they'll do the same for you. Let me just start by saying I never thought I would read this book. The Summer I Turned Pretty doesn't really have a title that makes me feel like I want to read it. I'm not really about, you know, nurturing the idea of prettiness or like girls needing to feel a certain way, or boys for that matter. Anyone to have to feel like this is the summer you're worth something because now you're pretty. That's kind of the vibe I was getting based off of the title of this book. But a friend gave it to me because it's a YA book that she was not into. She doesn't read YA, and she knew that I did. So it's been sitting on my shelf for a long time, and one of my goals this year is to read my TBR shelf, and those are the two top shelves in the bookshelf behind me. And so I thought, this seems like a good one. It's been on my list for a while. It's the summer, let's do it. And I'm so glad that I did, actually, and I'm probably going to even read the next two books in that series because I too am going to the beach at a beach house this summer, and not that it's the same situation by any means, but it really did get me in the mood for summer beach vacay, and I actually really enjoyed The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. I really appreciated what I felt were real feelings translated onto the page in a teenage voice. I appreciated the beach setting. I'm really looking forward to a little vacation I'm taking later in the summer, also at a beach house, and so that kind of put me in the mood for, like, you know, the warm sun, the swims, the warm nights outside, and all of like the beachy vibes that kind of come along with that. And the idea of two families getting together and spending the summer together. Just those aspects of it were really enjoyable and something that I'm looking forward to personally coming up in a little bit here. So, The Summer I Turned Pretty by Jenny Han. It says, now an original series on Prime Video. Perhaps you've seen the series. I haven't, and like I said, I didn't even think I would ever really read this book, but I did, and I'm really glad that I did. I would recommend this book for adult readers who read YA, or for older teenagers, definitely beyond, you know, 8th grade and up, I would say. I don't think this is something I would necessarily stock in my middle school library, possibly the high school library, but again, I hate the title. It's catchy, but I hate it. The title makes it seem lighter than it is, I guess. I'll just say that. There's a lot of good conversation. There's a lot of good conversation in here about family, friends, how you want to live your life, things, what's important to you, that kind of thing. So yeah, title alone, not great. Content, yeah, I would give it a pretty high rating. Like I said, it's addictive. I listened to this book actually, from I think most of the book, if not all of the book, I listened to it. And the narrator in the book kind of like laughs when she's narrating, so you kind of get the feeling of a teenage voice laughing when they're nervous, or like the emotion behind the reading is there. It's a good narration. It's on Spotify actually is where I listened to it, but I'm sure you can find it where any audiobooks are sold. Okay, let's talk about the next book, which is another highly addictive YA summer read that you would probably enjoy. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I'll put it on the screen here. Ironically, I actually did read this one in print, but it was from the library, so I had to return it early, whereas The Summer I Turned Pretty I listened to, and I do have a copy of it. Just a little irony for you there. Lots of unexpected twists in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder. I say that, but I'm like, were there unexpected twists? I think as an adult reader, and someone who teaches literature and who has taught literature, you know, you kind of know what you're looking for, but that said, it had me on this edge of my seat and I wanted to read this book, like more than I wanted to do other things, which is great because it kind of got me out of a reading slump. In The Good Girl's Guide to Murder, a senior student in high school, her name is Pippa, she's our protagonist, and for her senior capstone project, she decides to look at the media's role in a murder case that happened 5 years ago. And so technically it was like the guise of looking at the media and how they played a role, but really it was just her investigating this murder. The case had been closed for 5 years, and she digs into it, and really she does some things that are pretty crazy and would not recommend for anyone to do. You're trying to find out like who did it alongside her discoveries. A great read, I would say. Again, not something that I would probably stock in our libraries just due to the content. This is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder is definitely 16+ read, though I saw some of my 8th graders reading it recently, and I asked them what they thought, and they were like, it's good, and they were a quarter of the way through, but yeah, there are some disturbing things that happen in this book, as you might expect. But one aspect of this book that I did like, there were clues presented in the book. So when the character finds like files, you see the files. When she looks at a map, you see the map. When she enters ideas into her logbook, you see the logbook. It's a really interesting way of writing too. I don't think I've seen this before, where half the story is told through her logbook in first person and the other half the story is told as a third person narrator. So it kind of bounces back and forth. I think that's interesting too, because third person obviously distances you from the action and distances you from the feelings and the character. And I think that's important for this story because there's distance between Pip and what she's learning, and she's kind of on the outside of the case looking in, but then the logbooks show how very much she is on the inside of things, and what her thoughts are and what her feelings are. And so it's the same person, but it's almost like there are two narrators there, two characters. Well, not really two characters, but two points of view. Again, first person and third person. So I thought that was really interesting. I'll be curious to see if that continues in the second and third books, what the second and third books are going to be about, because in a very satisfying way, the first book ends with a resolution. Basically, everything is kind of tied up, though there is one aspect, one character who was introduced who was just kind of like brushed aside, and I thought he would play a bigger role in like the solution to the case, especially like I said with those files that they mentioned earlier. His initials are in there, so if you read this book you probably know what I'm talking about. I'm referencing the HH initials and person that she meets, but yeah. That doesn't play a role. So I'm wondering if maybe it plays a role in the second or third books, or even what those look like. I'm probably planning on reading those as well. I really enjoyed the physical copy of this book because I found myself putting my finger in one spot and flipping back a couple pages, or like looking at the map again that she provided and kind of flipping back and forth and trying to solve the case with her. So I feel like this book in particular is a good physical read, whereas perhaps some others you could just listen to and be fine with, like The Summer I Turned Pretty. So anyway, those are my thoughts on two highly addictive YA reads that you might enjoy this summer or beyond, depending on how quickly you read or what else you've got going on. But it's also really nice that they are part of a series. So if you enjoyed this, you'll have not just 2 books to read, but 6 potential new books to enjoy this summer. Let me know what else is on your summer reading list, or what some highly addictive YA series are that you think I might enjoy, and I'd be happy to check those out. Okay, in the meantime, happy reading! Bye!